Hi all, this is my second game of the season. I was playing for Barnet against Hatfield and Welwyn Garden City in the Hertfordshire League, the UK's Hertfordshire League. I played now C4 to avoid mainline opening theory. He played G6, and we see here a kind of Botvinnik system being played. I don't mind losing control of D4 so much, because I've got an idea of gaining space later on the Kingside with F4. So we see now a classical plan by black of rerouting this knight to E8 to C7 to E6 to try and strengthen control of the D4 square. I castle here now, and he plays knight C7. And now, instead of an immediate F4, I first play on the queen side. I play rook B1 with the idea of A3 and B4 to try and activate this rook on B1. He plays A5 to try and clamp down on that B4 square. And so here I first play bishop E3 as though I might be threatening D4. Now this encourages knight D4, which, although stopping D4 forcibly, it does mean I can now play A3 again with this clear threat of B4. He allows that now by playing bishop D7, so I play it now, and now he defends with B6. However, he is potentially giving me a very active rook now, this active rook on B1, which we'll see is very important later. Here I slightly overestimate my position though, and I play A4, and he could have forcibly won a pawn here by playing knight takes E2 check, and after knight takes E2 just playing queen E8. And what can I do to defend this pawn? I can't play knight C3 and I can't play rook A1 because of this bishop on this diagonal. So that would have been a bit embarrassing. However, maybe it's not the end of the world losing that pawn. I could maybe play queen D2 and D4 with a bit of counterplay, but it wouldn't have been ideal. However, he let me off the hook here. He played bishop C6, and I played knight B5 with a nice outpost down B5, which is also attacking the D4 square. So I was quite pleased at getting away with that little blunder. Now I play F4, and he classically blockades this space gaining idea with F5. So we see this typical setup. Black's overprotecting that D4 and stopping white's advance on the kingside by playing F5. But it does subtly weaken this diagonal, which we see here becomes a critical problem. I played G4 to try and undermine F5, and he takes on E2 now, and after queen takes E2 he plays knight D4. But do you remember that weakness on the light squares? Well, I exploit it now. I play bishop takes D4, not minding about the simplification here. Perhaps he could have taken with the c-pawn. That would have been better to leave some more defence around his king. After knight takes D4, c takes D4, I play e takes F5. And now his bishop's in pre, and my queen is free for this intermediary check. After bishop takes G2, instead of recapturing that bishop, I play queen E6 check. And after king H8, I play king takes G2. And he's got some real problems now, because my rook's coming to the 7th rank. And it's very difficult to defend this now with black. Actually, he gives up the E-pawn. And we go into a rook and pawn ending, which is fairly dire for black. My rook's got full control of the 7th rank here, and his d-pawns are isolated and shattered. He takes now on G4, and then plays rook C8, which I can only deduce had the idea of D5, trying to get the rook down the c-file and maybe attack D3. I play F5 to loosen my liability of this rook from defending F4, so it's free now to go to either B1 or H1 if necessary. After rook C5 I choose B1 because I am threatening a mate now with rook B8. He moves his king to be able to play rook f8, and I play now, instead of rook takes f8, I play rook b7, bv7, doubling the rooks on the 7th rank. And here he had enough, he resigned, because he's losing further material. And also there's a pretty mate, if you haven't seen this theme, if he did something like h6, then there's this mate with the rook coordination. So, in summary conclusion, let's have a quick brief overview, if I can fit this in on the YouTube video. So we have the Botvinnik system being played here, where white doesn't mind so much about the d4 square. Oops. Because there'll be plans for kingside expansion or even queenside undermining, which is what I played first with this b4 plan. I was lucky to be able to get away with this a4 idea. Here knight takes e2 would have just won a pawn, but he let me have this knight outpost on b5. So now I go into the second plan, kingside expansion. He classically blockades, but I try and unblockade his blockade. And now we see a lot of simplification leading to this lovely position for white with the rook on the 7th rank. So things have really come together here from this earlier rook b1 plan. Very difficult for black. Now we go into a rook and pawn ending, which is just dire for black, and the rooks coordinate beautifully for this final position. So I hope there's some instructive points in there which could improve your game, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks very much, and see you later on YouTube.